Hey everyone! Welcome to Anime Dreams. Today, we're exploring an exciting fanfic. What if Naruko had the Sharingan? Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's dive in. A newborn's cries echoed throughout the Uchiha complex. Though not yet a child in the true sense, the infant had only just entered the world. The household was in turmoil. Mikoto Uchiha cradled the baby while Fugaku stood before her, his expression dark with fury. "What is that? That child!" Fugaku's voice thundered, his anger only intensifying the newborn's wails. "Fugaku, please, let me explain," Mikoto pleaded. "Explain what, Mikoto? This child is the result of betrayal." Fugaku's voice was sharp with accusation. The infant opened her eyes, one a deep onyx, the signature Uchiha color, while the other was an unusual pale blue, its white pupil surrounded by a faint azure hue. Despite his anger, Fugaku could not bring himself to harm the child. "She may live, but she will never be recognized as an Uchiha, not as long as I draw breath," he declared before storming out of the room. At the doorway, he turned back with an icy glare. "Summon her father? He can take responsibility for her." Shortly after, Kakashi Itachi arrived at the compound, initially unaware of the tension that had filled the household. "Yo, I heard there's a new Uchiha in town," he said casually, a smile visible beneath his mask. However, the silence and grim expressions around him quickly made him uneasy. Following the quiet murmurs, Kakashi stepped into the room where Mikoto sat with Itachi, Sasuke, and the newborn. "Ah! Isn't she adorable?" Kakashi commented, leaning closer to get a better look. The infant suddenly reached out, grabbing the edge of his mask and tugging it down. To everyone's surprise, Kakashi didn't react, he simply smiled as the baby played with his gravity-defying silver hair. "Mama, can I ask Naruko to come and play tomorrow?" Sasuke asked, his large, pleading eyes impossible for Mikoto to resist. "Of course, sweetheart," she said warmly. Kakashi turned his attention back to the baby. "What's her name?" "Reeve," Mikoto responded softly. "That's a strong name," Kakashi remarked, nodding in approval. The following day, Naruko and Sasuke ran around the garden playing tag, their laughter filling the air. Mikoto sat on the porch, gently rocking the sleeping infant. As night fell, the peaceful atmosphere was shattered by the sudden sound of battle. The commotion startled the baby awake, her cries mixing with the distant sounds of clashing weapons. Terrified, Sasuke and Naruko ran to Mikoto just as a masked Anbu operative in black appeared before them. Without hesitation, the figure struck, stabbing Sasuke through the chest with a katana before slashing at Naruko's leg with a kunai. Mikoto rushed into the sparring room, only to find Fugaku with a blade through his throat, standing before Itachi. "I'm sorry, father. But I have my orders," Itachi whispered, tears streaming down his face. Screams echoed through the compound as Hiruzen and Sarutobi arrived with Kakashi and multiple Anbu squads, engaging the rogue assailants in battle. Amidst the chaos, Itachi carried out his grim mission, sparing only the infant before vanishing into the night. Kakashi and Hiruzen soon found Naruko, bleeding out beside Sasuke. The third Hokage's face darkened with sorrow. "We can't save Naruko. If she dies, the fox spirit within her will either perish with her or escape." Nearby, the infant wailed, her cries piercing through the destruction. The weight of responsibility bore down on Hiruzen. Difficult decisions were necessary for the village's future. Despite Kakashi's protests, the Nine Tails was transferred from Naruko into Reeve through a hastily performed ritual. As Naruko took her final breath, Kakashi knelt beside the weeping infant, his expression unreadable. "Who is the father?" Hiruzen asked solemnly. "That would be me," Kakashi admitted, holding the baby close. "Mikoto had an affair with you?" The Hokage's shock was evident. "Long story short, we had too much to drink. And well, This little one was the result, Kakashi explained, his tone laced with regret. Hiruzen let out a weary sigh, rubbing his temples. Just take care of your daughter, Kakashi. With that, Kakashi left, cradling the sleeping baby in his arms. That night, he brought Reeve to his apartment, setting her down gently before collapsing into bed himself. The following morning, the Hokage paid him a visit, finding Kakashi struggling to feed the newborn applesauce. Kakashi. Two things, Hiruzen began, pinching the bridge of his nose. First, I've arranged for a new apartment for you both, it's furnished with everything you'll need. Second, you can't feed a newborn solid food. She needs formula. Don't I get a say in this? Kakashi muttered half-heartedly. The Hokage's expression was enough of an answer. The move took 2 weeks. The new apartment was spacious, with 2 bedrooms on either side of a long hallway. A bathroom at the end featured both a bathtub and a shower. One bedroom was painted soft blue, while the other was a simple, clean white. Kakashi's friend Might Guy helped with the move, while Anko Mitarashi entertained Reeve in the living room, both preferring the floor over the stiff furniture. She's adorable. Anko cooed as the baby tugged at her hair. Congratulations, Kakashi. You're a father before any of us. Guy cheered, slapping Kakashi on the back. He turned to Reeve, smiling as she giggled at him. As time passed, Reeve's hair began growing in, silver like Kakashi's at the top and back, yet retaining the signature Uchiha black on the sides. Would you both like to stay for dinner? Kakashi offered. Of course. Guy and Anko replied enthusiastically, the latter adding something about the youthful joy of shared meals. Dinner consisted of Kakashi's usual takeout, tonight's choice being sweet and sour pork. Reeve made several attempts to grab food from Anko, who jokingly threatened to suspend her by her diaper if she didn't behave. Eventually, she turned to Guy, who gladly shared, despite Kakashi's protests. Reeve happily gummed a piece of pork until she lost interest, settling for her bottle instead. What are we supposed to do with the leftover gummed pork? Anko asked, pointing to the mushy piece with her chopsticks. Simple, Kakashi said before casually eating it, earning expressions of mild disgust from his guests. Later that night, Kakashi faced his next challenge, putting Reeve to sleep. Why won't you settle down? He asked in exasperation. He checked her diaper, ensured she was fed, yet she continued to cry. Then, realization struck him. Oh. Of course, he sighed, lightly smacking his forehead. He picked up the distressed infant and gently burped her, utterly surprised by the impressively loud sound that followed. That's better, he chuckled. As he placed her back in the crib, tears welled in her eyes once more. Don't like being alone, huh? He murmured. With a sigh, he moved her crib next to his bed. Once she was finally asleep, he climbed into bed himself, resisting the temptation to read his usual books. In the middle of the night, he awoke to her cries. He went through the usual routine, feeding, burping, changing, before sighing. You're already full of trouble. And we haven't even reached the teenage years yet, he muttered, amused. Before he could place her back in the crib, Reeve clung tightly to his shirt. With a tired smile, Kakashi lay back down, allowing her to rest on his chest. As exhaustion overtook him, he whispered, Guess we'll figure this out together, huh? For the first time in a while, Kakashi felt something unfamiliar, contentment. Nearly a year had passed since Naruko and Kakashi moved into their new home, and life had been going smoothly, aside from the many sleepless nights due to Reeve's teething. Despite the challenges of parenthood, today was a special occasion, Reeve's first birthday. Kakashi felt a bit anxious about it, mainly because Reeve hadn't made many friends yet. In fact, she had none, as the other children at daycare seemed wary of her. At the moment, Reeve was happily playing with a soft toy shaped like a kunai, something Kakashi couldn't resist getting for her. The first guest to arrive was Guy, carrying a guitar on his back and a wrapped present tucked under his arm. Hey, Kakashi. Guy greeted cheerfully, his usual wide smile in place. He set the present down in the living room and turned to Reeve, who visibly brightened at the sight of him. It was hard to say why a toddler would be so delighted by a man in a skin-tight green jumpsuit, but perhaps it had something to do with Guy's boundless energy, or maybe his distinctive haircut. "There's my favorite niece," Guy exclaimed joyfully as he scooped Reeve into his arms and playfully tickled her. "Kakashi, don't you think her hair is getting a bit long?" Guy noted, observing how Reeve's silver locks nearly reached the middle of her neck. "I'll get it cut on her second birthday, just like my father did with me," Kakashi replied before opening the door for another guest. "Hey, everyone." Yugao greeted in her usual upbeat tone as she scanned the room for the little one with the silver hair. "There's the birthday girl," she cooed, using a playful voice that made Reeve burst into laughter. Anko arrived last, placing her gift among the others. "So, how's the kid?" she asked with an indifferent tone. "Her name is Reeve," Kakashi corrected, his patience wearing thin. Tea was served, and just as the first present was about to be opened, a knock sounded at the door. Kakashi stood up to answer it, only to find himself stunned. Standing there were none other than his longtime teammates, Obito and Rin. "What are you two doing here?" Kakashi asked, taken aback. "Did you really think we'd miss our godchild's first birthday?" Rin teased, a playful glint in her eyes. "We wrapped up our mission early so we could be here," Obito added, scratching the back of his head. Rin wore her usual outfit. A long-sleeved black shirt paired with purple leggings, a cream-colored hoodie tied around her waist, and standard-issue ninja sandals. She also had on her flak jacket, a testament to her recent return from the mission. Her short brown hair framed her face, highlighting the distinctive purple markings on her cheeks. Obito, meanwhile, had his forehead protector covering his left eye, the same eye he had entrusted to Kakashi. His attire consisted of a short-sleeved black shirt, black tracksuit pants, and ninja sandals, complemented by his own flak jacket. A neatly wrapped present was slung over his back. Kakashi stepped aside to let them in, and as soon as Reeve spotted Rin, she eagerly tried to squirm out of Guy's grasp to reach her. Laughing, Rin bent down and picked her up, earning a giggle from the toddler as she curiously played with the markings on her cheeks. "To think my cousin is also my goddaughter," Obito mused. "I've kind of lost track of how many times removed we are, though. Let's get to the presents. I'm sure this little Uchiha is excited to see what she got," Rin joked, giving Reeve an affectionate Eskimo kiss. "Actually, she's a Hatake," Kakashi corrected, rubbing the back of his head. "Good," Obito chuckled. "Wouldn't want people thinking she's mine and calling me in when she inevitably gets into trouble." "What makes you so sure she'll be a troublemaker?" Anko asked with amusement. "Simple, she's my niece and Kakashi's daughter," Obito quipped. The group gathered in a circle with Reeve at the center, ready to open gifts. "Mine first," Guy declared, handing over a box nearly as big as Reeve herself. Inside was a green jumpsuit identical to Guy's. The sight of it sent a chill down Kakashi's spine. Next was Anko's gift. Reeve struggled to tear the wrapping paper until Kakashi stepped in to help. Once opened, it revealed a cozy blanket adorned with snake patterns. Reeve was fascinated, eagerly trying to grab at the snakes as if they were real. Yugao's gift was a toy katana. The moment Reeve got her hands on it, she gleefully began smacking Kakashi on the head with it, bursting into laughter each time. Obito and Rin's present was a plush toy shaped like a nine-tailed fox. Reeve immediately latched onto it and refused to let go, crying whenever anyone even tried to take it away. Finally, Kakashi pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a pendant shaped like a hammer, long enough to reach Reeve's knees when she stood. After gifts, it was time for cake. Just as Kakashi was about to take a bite, Reeve suddenly yanked down his mask, revealing his face to everyone. Caught off guard, Kakashi tried in vain to reclaim his mask, but it was no use. The damage was done, and his friends had already gotten a good look. As the laughter died down, Rin scooped up Reeve and held her close. Both turned to Obito, who quickly snapped a picture at the perfect moment. The photo captured Reeve wrapping her arms around Rin's neck while she held her securely, both smiling at the camera. In the background, Guy had Kakashi trapped in an enthusiastic bear hug. "This one's a keeper," Obito commented. "Let's all take a group picture," Rin suggested excitedly. Everyone gathered on the couch for the photo. Kakashi sat in the middle with Reeve on his lap. Anko sat to his left, Yugao to his right, and Guy took a spot next to Anko while Obito sat beside Yugao, with Rin on his lap. Just then, an Anbu operative entered. She had been assigned to watch over Reeve on the Hokage's orders. After taking the photo for the group, she handed over her own gift, a miniature Anbu wolf mask, an entirely fitting choice from an Anbu member. Before she could leave, Reeve suddenly placed her tiny hands on her mask, leaving 2 chocolate-covered prints before practically launching herself into the Anbu's arms. The Anbu stood frozen, caught off guard by the unexpected affection. Reeve only grinned at her, giggling at the fox-like design of her mask. At that moment, more Anbu operatives arrived on the balcony to check on their squadmate, only to find her holding Reeve, her chocolate-covered hands leaving more marks on her armor. Seeing the scene unfold, the newcomers accepted Kakashi's invitation to join the celebration. 2 more gifts were presented to Reeve. One was a mini ninja card that read Anbu in training, while the other was a coloring book, something that, given Reeve's energy, would likely be filled with red in no time. Then, to everyone's surprise, Reeve managed to tug the first Anbu's mask off. She resisted, but the toddler was persistent. When she finally succeeded, she beamed up at the woman, her innocent expression full of delight. Kakashi, however, found himself momentarily breathless. "She's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen," Kakashi thought to himself, completely captivated. She had deep green eyes, short black hair, and delicate facial features, with a small scar resting just beneath her right eye. "Now that you've had your fun, young man, may I have my mask back?" she requested in a firm yet calm tone. Reeve's eyes welled up with tears. "There's no need to cry, you're not in trouble. I would just like my mask returned," she reassured him with a gentle smile. Obito nudged Kakashi, silently urging him to stop staring. Reeve handed the mask back before unexpectedly wrapping his arms around her in a hug. Within moments, he drifted off to sleep in her arms. "How did you do that?" Kakashi asked, astonished. "Simple, a woman's touch," she answered matter-of-factly. Kakashi sighed. "Maybe you should stop by every night to help him sleep, so I don't have to worry about rolling over onto him." He chuckled, scratching the back of his head. "Maybe I will, as long as dinner is included," she joked in return. With care, she carried Reeve to his crib, tucking him in with his stuffed fox before preparing to leave. Before she could step away, Obito spoke up. "So, what's your name?" Since Kakashi can't seem to take his eyes off you but refuses to ask, he teased. "Sarah," she replied smoothly before leaping out the window. Rin sighed and lightly smacked Obito on the back of the head before pulling him along with the others. The cleanup took quite some time, but once Kakashi finished, he finally climbed into bed, exhausted. After a year of caring for an infant, a good night's rest was well earned. September 15th. The birthday of Kakashi Hatake. Obito and Rin had been planning a surprise celebration, as Kakashi was finally returning from a mission. As they strolled through the store aisles, Rin held little Reeve's hand, guiding him through the selection of items. "Do you have any ideas on what we should get for Kakashi?" Rin asked with a warm smile. "Kaka?" Reeve repeated, using the only name he had for Kakashi, a nickname that was both endearing and amusing. "Yes, your father. What should we buy for him?" Rin knelt to meet Reeve's eyes, patiently awaiting his response. The child shrugged, his gaze wandering past her. He lifted a small finger and pointed toward something behind her. Rin turned to see what had caught his attention, a picture frame. "A picture frame?" Rin asked curiously. Reeve nodded. "And what will we put in it?" she continued. Reeve pointed first to Rin's wedding ring, then to himself. "Oh, you want to take a family photo? One of you, me, and Obito?" Rin realized, touched by the sentiment. Before she could say more, Obito approached, holding a couple of ice cream cones. That's a fantastic idea. Let's get two, one large frame for the house and a smaller one for a locket, so Kakashi can take it with him on missions. Reeve beamed, flashing a nearly complete set of baby teeth. Almost all grown in, Rin giggled, playfully ruffling his hair. They decided to enjoy their ice cream outside, sitting on a bench as they watched the people and clouds pass by. However, one person didn't pass. She stopped in front of them, smiling kindly. My. What a beautiful family, the elderly woman chuckled. She leaned slightly toward Reeve, her eyes twinkling. And what an adorable little one. He. Thank you, ma'am, but he's my godson, Obito replied, smiling warmly. Before the woman could respond, a towering man with a stern expression approached. Stay away from him, the man ordered. His voice was deep, his stature intimidating, standing nearly 7 feet tall and twice Obito's size in muscle mass. Obito frowned. Excuse me? The child, keep him away. That thing will bring disaster, the man declared, pointing directly at Reeve. Obito's expression darkened. That is no way to speak about my wife, he said firmly. I wasn't talking about her, the man snapped. I meant that child, he carries the nine-tailed fox. He's dangerous. Rin's protective instincts flared as she pulled Reeve closer. He is just a child. He has done nothing wrong, she said sharply. But before she could turn away, the man reached out, attempting to grab Reeve from her arms. In an instant, Rin's reflexes took over. Holding Reeve securely in one arm, she seized the man by the collar with her free hand and, with surprising strength, pinned him against a nearby tree. Rin, let him go, Obito urged. He's not worth it. Rin hesitated, torn between her anger and reason. After a deep breath, she chose the latter. With a warning glare, she released the man, allowing him to slide down the tree trunk. The bark had grazed his neck, leaving faint scratches. Without another word, the trio walked back into the store. At the counter, a friendly clerk greeted them. Good afternoon. How may I assist you? We'd like one A5 picture frame and a locket frame, please, Obito requested as Rin played with Reeve. Of course. Would you like to take a photo to place inside? The clerk asked. Obito glanced at Rin, then at Reeve. Yes, please. To their surprise, the store offered in-store photography, an unexpected but welcome convenience. A camera flash later, the photo developed, Obito carrying Reeve on his shoulders while Rin wrapped her arms around them both. Reeve, with his infectious laughter, playfully tugged at Rin's hair, all three smiling at the camera. As Obito handled the payment, Rin took Reeve outside. However, waiting for them was trouble, a group of imposing figures, including the man from earlier. Rin tensed, preparing for a confrontation. But before she could react, a masked figure suddenly appeared, grabbing Reeve and pulling him into a nearby alleyway. Reeve! Rin cried out, immediately chasing after him, only to be intercepted by a swift kick to the side of her head, knocking her off balance. The attacker was an Onbu operative. Don't let it awaken the beast, one of the men shouted. Another Onbu member drew a kunai, slashing toward Reeve. The blade left a small cut beneath the child's right eye. A desperate rescue. Reeve's distressed screams echoed through the alleyway, immediately drawing Obito's attention. Without hesitation, he sprinted out of the shop and down the narrow passage, where he found Reeve pinned against the wall, kunai lodged into his hands and feet, rendering him immobile. Obito's eyes narrowed as he swiftly drew two kunai of his own and charged at the assailants. The civilians turned on him, but he reacted instantly. Dropping low, he struck one in the leg with precision, severing a major artery. Before the others could react, he sprang up and expertly threw two kunai, eliminating two more threats in an instant. The final attacker, who had initiated the assault, lunged at Obito. However, His attack was met with the completion of a rapid series of hand seals. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. A searing blaze erupted from Obito's mouth, engulfing the man at close range. A pained cry escaped him as the intense flame struck, leaving behind cinders where his skin had once been. Reeve, though gravely injured, remained conscious. A kunai had embedded itself in his stomach, though a second one had halted just inches from his eye. However, what truly astonished those present was the transformation of his eyes. Reeve's left eye had developed the first stage of the Sharingan, a sight in itself, but his right eye was even more unusual. Instead of the typical crimson hue, it remained its usual white, now featuring a striking blue tomoe instead of the customary black. Before anyone could react further, an Anbu operative made his move. However, his hesitation proved costly. A kunai pierced the side of his head before he could strike. His partner prepared to counter, but before he could act, Rin, having just regained consciousness, swiftly intercepted. With remarkable speed, she delivered a powerful kick to his throat before driving a kunai through his mask, shattering the porcelain upon impact. A moment later, another Anbu appeared on the scene, prompting both Obito and Rin to brace for another confrontation. "I'm too late," the masked figure exclaimed in frustration, his wolf-patterned mask betraying his distress. "I apologize for what happened. I never approved of their actions. I would have stopped them if I could, but they restrained me before I had the chance." Rin, still shaken, carefully removed the kunai from Reeve, her expression one of awe. Despite his severe injuries, Reeve had remained conscious, and his wounds were already beginning to mend. The familiar red glow of the fox's chakra enveloped him, gently sealing his injuries at an accelerated rate. The Anbu, now standing just before Rin, took a step forward, only to feel the cold edge of a kunai press against his throat. Obito's message was clear. "Proceed with caution." "I mean no harm," the Anbu assured, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "I only wish to ensure Reeve is all right." Reeve, who had since quieted from full cries to soft whimpers, lifted his gaze toward the masked figure. His expression shifted as recognition dawned. "Wolfie?" he asked between sniffles. The Anbu chuckled lightly. "Yeah, kiddo. It's me." With the situation momentarily stable, Wolf turned toward Obito and Rin. "We should leave now. The villagers are growing restless." Without hesitation, Obito and Rin executed swift body flickers, reappearing at their apartment in an instant. Hatake residence. At Kakashi's home, the atmosphere remained tense. Rin sat on the couch with Reeve clinging tightly to her, while Obito tried his best to lift the boy's spirits, though all it did was make him clutch onto Rin even harder. Moments later, Kakashi arrived, his sharp gaze immediately assessing the scene. The distress was evident on both Rin and Obito's faces. "What happened?" Kakashi asked, his voice calm but firm. Rin, unable to contain her frustration, clenched her fists. "The villagers," she seethed. Obito let out a slow breath, his expression serious. "Kakashi, you might want to sit down for this." Understanding the gravity of the situation, Kakashi slowly took a seat. The moment he did, Reeve instantly latched onto him, holding on as if seeking comfort and safety. Obito wasted no time. Long story short, 4 civilians and 2 Anbu attempted to harm Reeve. They stopped only because he awakened his Sharingan. His words came out in a near-breathless rush, almost at the speed of Shisui Uchiha. The atmosphere shifted instantly. A heavy pressure settled over the room as Kakashi's chakra flared in response, his killing intent nearly tangible. "They're all going to pay for this," he muttered darkly. Obito, still catching his breath, gave a small nod. "They're already taken care of." Kakashi's expression relaxed slightly, though the underlying tension remained. "Good," he said simply, as if dismissing the matter entirely. Turning his attention to Reeve, he gently lifted him so they could meet eye to eye. "How's my little ninja holding up?" Kakashi asked, his voice softened with concern. Reeve's face was still flushed, his cheeks stained with the remnants of tears. His puffy red eyes made him look somewhat endearing, though his actions spoke louder than words. He simply clung to Kakashi, finding solace in the familiar presence of his trusted guardian. Hokage's office. At the Hokage's office, a thunderous crack echoed as Hiruzen Sarutobi slammed his hands against his desk in sheer fury. The wood splintered upon impact, a clear reflection of his anger. They did what? His voice roared through the chamber. Standing before him, Wolf remained composed as he delivered his report. Anbu operatives Owl and Badger attempted to eliminate Reeve. They hesitated only when his Sharingan activated. Hiruzen's sharp eyes bore into him. And you didn't intervene because? Wolf sighed. I knew I couldn't win against them. I tried seeking help, but they subdued me with a genjutsu and restrained me before I could act. The Hokage exhaled slowly, rubbing his temples as he spun his chair to face away for a moment. Then, as if making a calculated decision, he asked, Does Reeve trust any Anbu aside from you? Wolf hesitated before responding. Only Sarah and myself, Lord Hokage. Hiruzen nodded solemnly, deep in thought. Back at the Hatake residence. As the night deepened, the tension remained, but Reeve had finally settled. Nestled securely against Kakashi, he finally allowed exhaustion to claim him. For now, he was safe. But the events of the night had sent a clear message, one that no one in the village would soon forget. So, besides Reeve awakening the Sharingan at such an astonishingly young age and nearly facing danger, is there anything else I missed? Kakashi asked, still holding his son. Kaka! Reeve called out, reaching out with his small hands in a giving motion. It looks like he still wants to give you his gift, Obito said with a light-hearted chuckle. Here you go, and no, nothing else happened, Obito assured him as he handed Kakashi two carefully wrapped gifts. And which one is from you, my little ninja? Kakashi asked with a warm smile. Reeve eagerly pointed to a small box resting on top. Kakashi first unwrapped the larger package, revealing a framed family photo. His smile grew as he immediately thought of where to place it among his other cherished pictures. Then, he carefully opened the smaller box, finding a headband-shaped locket inside. When he opened it, he discovered the same family photo on one side, while the other held an image of his late father, Sakumo Hatake. Kakashi felt his exposed eye well up with tears. The thoughtful gift stirred deep emotions within him. You're such a softie, Rin teased, though she, too, found herself overcome with emotion. Wonderful. Now I have two of them, Obito quipped, though his tone carried warmth. Just then, Wolf and Sarah arrived, informing Kakashi that they were the only two Anbu he could fully trust, as Reeve had placed his confidence in them. Sarah then spoke up with a playful grin, well, I suppose that means I'm in charge of dinner tonight. Kakashi's face reddened slightly at the remark, though his ever-present mask concealed it, at least until Reeve playfully tugged it down again. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe for more exciting updates. Thank you for your support, I truly appreciate it. With gratitude. Anime Dreams.